In today's episode, Ryan explains how he was left with £175,000 worth of debt after being freed from prison for a crime committed by a lifelong friend. This is a real-life comeback underdog story where Ryan has turned his life around and cleared all of his debts so he can now hold his head high, knowing he doesn't owe a single penny and the haters can only hate him further. This episode is a liberating episode for anybody who has overcome the biggest hurdles in life to rise like a phoenix from the burning ashes. Visit www.propertycrashcourse.com to learn more. It's 100% free. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan's show producer Adam, and we want all these episodes to impact you the most to move the needle in your business. So, before we get into today's episode, let me share Ryan's backstory to give you the confidence you may need to apply these unlocks. Ryan Otto knew he was an entrepreneur since he was 11 years old. And since 2016, an ex-convict who lost everything after discovering his now ex-wife had an affair, he lost his home, children, and all the wealth he had built up when he was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison for a crime carried out by a lifelong friend, and found himself in maximum security prison alongside some of the country's most dangerous and high-profile criminals. He turned this horrendous negative situation into a positive one, trained to become a Samaritan, meaning his time in prison away from his family was spent helping other inmates who were contemplating and even had attempted suicide in custody. Ryan left custody with £175,000 worth of debt and has gone on to build a multi-million-pound portfolio in property, with his fourth hotel acquired since April 2020 during the pandemic and recession, with residential and commercial investment properties in the UK and Malta. Looking back, Ryan was nothing special. In fact, he was not academic in any way, and being a mixed-race teenager in a small town, crippled with dyslexia meant he was shy, and left school with more criminal records for petty crimes like joyriding fast cars and motorbikes than GCSEs. At 11 years old, he immediately knew that he was an entrepreneur when his mother took him to a Booker Cash and Carry in Hastings, and he discovered he could buy push pops in bulk, on his mother's account of course, for 5p and sell them for 50p, making a huge profit. His mother always said Ryan could sell their own sand back to the Arabs. In this episode, you will find value in a variety of talks, tactics and breakthroughs, strategies, unlocks and interviews around business, property investment, entrepreneurship, the hotel business and real life. It's these exact unlocks Ryan shares in these episodes that are responsible for turning his life around, and anybody listening to these episodes can do the same. It's taken Ryan 20 years of failures and success, costing nearly 5 years in prison, to bring you these experiences that you will hear in these episodes. Please do spend the 60 seconds to leave Ryan a podcast review and a rating, because your review is the fuel that keeps Ryan delivering these episodes. Thank you.
Hey podcasters, I hope everybody's in the Christmas spirit. It's the 18th of December. Christmas is approaching us. A bit of a subdued Christmas, but it is approaching us anyway. So I hope you guys are all getting into character. Now, this episode is just about, what is it about? Well, when I left custody, nearly 4 years ago now, around 4 years ago, 2016, I owed around £175,000. Yes, I was in debt, didn't go bankrupt, managed to do the prison sentence, still provide for my family, still provide for my children, still provide for my ex-wife, even though she had another partner, and living with her, more or less, still provide for everybody in that sense. Lost a few assets, didn't actually go bankrupt, which is great. I still own property now that I owed from 20 years ago, from 20 years ago. So that's a relief as well. So it didn't actually go bankrupt, which is great. However, that uphill struggle, that getting that monkey off of your back, climbing that mountain of debt and then overcoming it and getting to the pinnacle and then down the other side, and that's where I've been for a while now. Getting up to the pinnacle, we passed that a while ago, then getting down the other side of the mountain until there's nothing left and you're all the way back on the ground. Now, when I first looked at it, it was huge, an insurmountable amount of money for most people, but we got there in the end. Today is a special day. Well, actually, yesterday is a special day. Late, very, very late last night. Now, I've just completely paid off everybody that has to be paid off from when I owed around £175,000 £25,000 of debt. So I understand, guys, some of you may be thinking and listening and thinking, well, you're buying a hotel, then another hotel, then you've got all these buildings and all these properties and these developments you're working on and everything else, all these properties. However, it wasn't always like this, guys. It wasn't always like this. Obviously, you're seeing an advanced version of me from when I first started, but you don't see all the bits in the middle, all the problems, the challenges, the ups, the downs, the recessions, the booms, the busts, and all the crap that comes in between. You're just looking at not even a polished version. You're just looking at a developed version of me. When you see, you've got this, you've got that, you're buying this, you're buying that, you're doing these deals, you're doing that deal, you're working with this person, etc., etc. Now, I'm not where I want to be. I'm on the right trajectory, but there's still a lot to learn and still a lot to do, a lot to achieve, a lot to accomplish, lots of skills to learn and understand, before I can keep, pushing forward in that sense. Every time I record a podcast in my car, I yawn. I don't know why that is. Anyway, let's get the energy pumping. So, now, it's a fantastic day, like I said, because I've finally managed to pay the last person off from all of that debt that I had, which was just under 200 grand. So, you know what it's like when you owe some money, or, you owed some money to somebody, and, you want to pick the phone up and call them, or you want to meet them and just do something, or even hang out, or even do business with them, or even just congratulate them on their birthday, or at Christmas, or anything else. But then you have that fear because maybe you're a little bit reserved, maybe you're a little bit embarrassed. That's exactly how I felt, a little bit held back because you don't want to make that call because in the back of your mind, like the elephant in the room, you still owe them some money. Or you don't want to meet them because, again, in the back of your mind, or the elephant in the room, you still owe them some money. Maybe it comes up in conversations, maybe other people know, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, because it definitely does for me, because I owe them some money. So today's a fantastic day. I'm really happy. Everybody has been paid off that I owed money to. They've been getting it in drips and drabs and like a loan kind of thing. I've been paying it monthly, etc., etc. But now everybody is paid off who has to be paid off. So now I can look in the mirror, now I'm happy, now I can hold my head high, now I can silence those critics, now I can look them in the eye, look anybody in the eye who knew about this, or these old debts, for argument's sake, and hold my head up high, knowing that, excuse me, even under the circumstances of me owing them some money, going to jail, spending a large part of my life, nearly half a decade, in prison, and then coming out, and then starting from zero, or even below zero, minus £175,000 in debt, starting again, and coming out of jail, is a massive task. However, now I feel great, because that has been achieved. That has now, or we've now passed that milestone. That's now been achieved. So this just goes out to anybody who's in debt, who owes some money. Maybe they feel a little bit nervous, a little bit embarrassed, maybe a little bit insecure over it. Maybe you just can't spend time with certain people, friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, because you have this monkey hanging around your neck. But if you just keep going, maybe set up some kind of payment plan, keep that money dripping along, feeding along, and keep it moving. Maybe even keep the dialogue open, so you're in communication, and keep chipping away, and then you will get to that position where you can hold your head high and you feel good knowing that something from your past has been concluded, a debt has been cleared, and you can silence those critics. So I hope you got some value from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts.
He's a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's an NLP manipulator. He's a property course seller. He's a Lamborghini driving multi-millionaire property guru. Forget that same old boring I am me narcissistic podcast format, because nobody gives a fuck. This podcast is all about you. So I'm taking these few seconds to thank you for subscribing, to thank you for leaving your 5-star reviews, and thank you for sharing this show with all of your friends. My team and I will keep bringing you these episodes and answering all of your burning questions in my Facebook community group called Property Crash Course. If you can just keep telling all of your friends about this show.